Welcome back to another episode of the Interlake Sports Now. I'm Josh Dugan, and thanks as always for checking out the show. We really appreciate it. We'll roll through our fall sports update as usual before we break down a little Grizzlies and Bobcats football action. Shout out, as always, our friends at Nomad GCS for helping make this thing possible. Let's start out that fall sports update with a look at the Glacier Wolfpack volleyball team who won recently the Western AA title over the weekend to take the number one seed from the West into the state AA tournament this upcoming weekend. They'll take on the Bozeman Hawks, the fourth seed from the East, at the Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman. We did see some crosstown playoff action in this tournament as Glacier beat Flathead in the Western AA semifinal on their way to that Western AA title. The Bravettes fell to Helena in a loser-out game Saturday, so their season came to an end after going 10-17 overall. Best of luck to the Wolfpack as they head east for the state tournament. Always love to see our Valley teams represent well in the state tournament. We'll definitely have updates on next week's show as to how the Wolfpack did in Bozeman. Speaking of the Wolfpack, let's get right into our prep football roundup, where another Glacier squad has their eyes set on a state title run. The Glacier Wolfpack football team is moving on to the Class AA semifinal after beating Missoula Sentinel 46-12 Friday night at Legend Stadium. The Wolfpack also recently made the semifinal in 2016 and 2021. Glacier moved to 9-1 overall with the win. Quarterback Jackson Presley had 4 second-half touchdown passes to pull away from the Spartans after a close first half with a halftime score of 17-12. So the Wolfpack really got it going in the second half. Defense absolutely locked down, pitched the second half shutout, and the offense erupted for some points. Presley finished with 311 yards passing, and running back Kobe Dorchis had a huge impact for the Wolfpack. He hauled in 2 touchdown passes from Presley and added another on the ground, so big day for Dorchis. Cohen Castellitz was added again on the outside, hauled in a touchdown pass, and had 6 catches for 123 yards. That's a name we are always seeing on the show making plays at the receiver position. And Cole Johnson had a solid day for the Wolfpack. He snagged the other touchdown pass from Presley and finished with 2 catches for 61 yards. Next up for Glacier is a home matchup next Friday night at Legend Stadium versus the 9-1 Gallatin Raptors, a battle of 9-1 teams. You know it's going to be a good game. The Raptors just beat Helena 40-6 in the quarterfinal matchup, so they also had a big win, similar to Glacier. So these two teams seem evenly matched. Should be a fun one at Legends, no doubt, this Friday. Today's episode is brought to you by Nomad. Vote of the Flathead's best manufacturer. Nomad is a longtime supporter of the local community and sports scene, celebrating 20 years of building great careers in mission-focused custom vehicles. Nomad, a Montana-based company making a global impact. Visit nomadgcs.com for more info. That's nomadgcs.com for more information. Columbia Falls is heading to the Class A state semifinals, so we got 2 Valley teams in the state semifinals. Gotta love that, their respective classes. Columbia Falls knocked off unbeaten Billings Central 21-16 on the road last Saturday. Wildcats quarterback Cody Schweikert ran for a touchdown and connected with Chance Miller for a 61-yard score and Jace Hill for a 59-yard score. Schweikert overall had 247 yards passing and ran for 62 yards. So a big day for Cody Schweikert. The Wildcats defense came up big late with a pair of stops late in the game to force 2 turnovers on downs and protect their lead. Hill had 6 catches for 118 yards for the Wildcats, and Mark Robeson had 3 catches for 63, so they were the big targets for Schweikert on the outside. Next up for Sioux Falls is a trip to Corvallis to take on the Blue Devils. Corvallis was the 2nd seed in Western A. The Wildcats, they were the number 4 seed. The 2 teams did not meet in the regular season, so it's a battle of Western A teams in the state semifinal. We'll see how that one goes. Definitely have updates on next week's show. Alrighty, before we move along to the Cat Griz football action, let's get to our first ever Poster Player of the Week, generously sponsored by your friends at Clark Auto Group here in Kalispell, featuring 3 local stores, Clark Nissan, Clark Hyundai, and Mountain Auto and Marine, home of the $29.99 oil change and the friendliest staff in town. Join us in making a difference this Thanksgiving season. Drop off your canned goods and non-perishable donations at Clark Nissan between November 1st and November 15th. Help us gather the essentials to craft heartwarming meal bundles for those in need. Food bundle distribution starts November 21st. For families and individuals who need a little extra help this Thanksgiving, come and receive a bountiful food bundle. We've got everything you need for a festive meal except the turkey. Let's come together as a community and ensure everyone has a reason to be thankful this year. Your generosity can make someone's holiday special. Spread the word, and let's fill those trunks with joy. Thank you so much to Clark Auto Group for helping sponsor our Poster Player of the Week on the Interlake Sports Now. And our first ever Poster Player of the Week goes to a man that we just mentioned, Columbia Falls quarterback Cody Schweikert, for his efforts leading the Wildcats to the state semifinal game. This photo is from the Wildcats' 42-0 win over the Whitefish Bulldogs. Schweikert threw for 2 touchdown passes and ran for 3 more. He finished with 76 yards rushing on 15 carries and was extremely efficient in the playoff win. Cat Dog playoff win, gotta love that, as he threw for 18 of 20 passing through the air for 216 yards. Just a huge day for Schweikert. Congratulations to Columbia Falls quarterback Cody Schweikert on being our first ever Poster Player of the Week presented by Clark Auto Group. And remember to join Clark Auto Group and making a difference this Thanksgiving season by dropping off your canned goods and non-perishable donations through November 15th to help gather the essentials to craft heartwarming meal bundles for those in need. And once again, for the families and individuals who need a little extra help this Thanksgiving, come and receive a bountiful food bundle. We got everything you need for a festive meal except the turkey. Let's come together as a community and ensure everyone has a reason to be thankful this year. Your generosity can make someone's holiday special. Spread the word, and let's fill those trunks with joy. Thanks again to Clark Auto Group for helping present our first ever Poster Player of the Week, and thank you again for helping give back to the community. Gotta love that. Let's move along to the college football action, starting with Montana State. Bobcats bounced back from a dismal offensive performance versus Idaho to steamroll Northern Arizona, a pesky Northern Arizona team who beat the Griz earlier this year and have played some top teams tough. So they were no slouch in the Lumberjacks. They won that one 45-21 and extended their home winning streak to 25 games, which is currently the best in the country. My biggest takeaway from this game, Montana State really got back to the basics and looked like the offense we expect to see from the Bobcats. They rushed for 135 yards in the first quarter alone on their way to 343 rushing yards total and looked unstoppable most of the day. Unstoppable. You watch that Idaho performance, they got away from the run, they threw the football a lot early, it didn't look like your typical Bobcats performance. All of a sudden, got back to the basics. Malott had a big day on the ground, Chambers made his presence felt on the ground, and Julius Davis continues to emerge as a star for the Bobcats. So, big day for Montana State, no doubt about it. As for the Griz, biggest takeaway from that game is Montana made a statement as to just how complete of a team the Grizzlies are. They played a nearly perfect game in all 3 phases of the game, and the Grizzlies coaching staff deserves a lot of the credit. Coach Houck just broke the Big Sky wins record with his 124th career win as a Big Sky coach. And you watch that performance, you could see why. They dominated Sac State, a fellow top 10 team. It felt like the Grizzlies the last few weeks versus Idaho versus Northern Colorado, whom they shut out 40-0. And now Sac State, they've been a few steps ahead of the opposition. Their coaching game plans have been on point. They've been precise, and it feels like the Griz are always a few steps ahead defensively. They cause a lot of chaos. They always seem to make opposing teams make mistakes. And as far as their offense goes, it might not be explosive every possession, but when the time's right, they take a couple shots and they make a big play. We saw it last week. They had a 97-yard connection from McDowell to Keelan White. So the offense is starting to click. The special teams is always great under Coach Houck, and the Grizzlies defense, as usual, is elite. So it's all coming together for the Griz at the right time. In the last 2 games over the last 8 quarters of football, they've allowed 7 points. When you allow 7 points in 2 combined games, with one of those being a top 10 team, that says a lot. So the Grizzlies' defense is starting to lock teams down. Their offense plays complementary style and takes shots at the right time. It's all starting to click for the Grizzlies as they travel to Portland State, who does have an explosive offense, so the Griz defense could have their hands full early. Portland State quarterback Dante Sachre is a playmaker. They have a great running back who had a 6-touchdown game recently, so you won't want to sleep on the Vikings too much. That being said, I expect the Griz to take care of business in that one, no doubt. And then, of course, we're only a few weeks away from the Brawl of the Wild in Missoula, a game that could determine the Big Sky champions. So that's going to be a Brawl of the Wild for the ages. Interesting to see if either the Bobcats or the Griz get caught. Looking ahead a little bit to that November 18th meeting in Missoula and come out the gate slow this weekend. Look for Eastern Washington. They take on the Bobcats in Bozeman. Look for Eastern Washington and make some noise early. Keep that one competitive. And the Bobcats pull away late. Similar to the Griz, I think they're going to go to Portland State, have the Brawl of the Wild looking ahead a little bit, maybe start a little slow and pull away in the second half and continue that strong performance. I'm really interested to see the Portland State offensive attack versus the Grizzlies defense. The Grizzlies just shut down a top-tier offense in Sac State. Can they do that once again to another strong offensive unit with the Vikings. So it's going to be a fun one. Last up, some fun Griz news to get to, and then we'll kind of wrap this thing up. Clifton McDowell, we mentioned that touchdown to Keelan White, 97-yard score. That set the Griz record for longest passing touchdown in school history. He broke Brian Ayat's record of 93-yard touchdown pass to Jimmy Ferris back in 1997. Anytime you're breaking an Ayat record, that's something to be proud of. McDowell's really coming on strong, looking like the guy who the Griz have been looking for under center, and he's a leader, making throws, doing it all. And that did earn him the Offensive Player of the Week in the Big Sky this past week. He passed for 218 yards in that game. He had 2 touchdowns through the air, and he rushed for 83 yards. He even caught a pass for a 24-yard reception. 325 yards total for McDowell, and last Saturday's win over Sac State earned him the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week nod. Well-deserved. So the accolades do keep rolling in for the Grizzlies as they've really hit their stride down the stretch. One quick note before we close this thing out, the Griz and Bobcats men's and women's basketball teams start up this week, so keep an eye out for some Big Sky hoops on the Interlake Sports Now. Moving forward, we'll definitely have some updates on how the Griz and Bobcats are doing on the basketball court. And next week we'll be doing a little Brawl of the Wild preview, getting you ready for that Brawl of the Wild in Missoula, possibly to determine the Big Sky champion. So that's going to be an epic Brawl of the Wild. Both teams are going to come in likely in the top 10 in the country, maybe even the top 5 in the country. So it's shaping up to be an all-time Brawl of the Wild in Missoula, November 18th, between the Bobcats and Grizzlies, who are both having great seasons this year. So that's going to be a fun one. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the show this week. Thank you, as always, to Nomad GCS for helping make this happen. And shout out Clark Auto Group for the support with our Poster Player of the Week. It's been a fun one. Everyone, you enjoy that. Griz and Bobcats hoops, some football on the weekend in this horizon, and some prep playoffs, some volleyball playoffs. A lot going on in Northwest Montana. We'll keep you updated next week on all the action. I'm Josh Dugan, and I'm out.